Listeners everywhere, welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan, the weekly fix for your screen addiction and a trusted source for discussion of all things film and television. Please keep in mind that for the purposes of this podcast, Joel and Ryan are not acting as journalists, but rather fellow moving picture enthusiasts. All of their opinions should be taken as such. Also, please be warned that while Joel and Ryan may seem like petulant children, they are, in fact, adults who may occasionally use adult language. While they promise to bleep out all the worst words, it's a good bet you will still understand what they were saying. And now, with no further ado, here's Joel and Ryan.
Welcome, one and all. Welcome to the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. I am Joel Listman.
And I'm Ryan.
That one is Ryan. And welcome to episode 3. We are back. We are finally trying to set a regular schedule on this our movie show, and
which we hope will be a weekly show.
Yeah, we hope will be a weekly, but you know, life has a tendency to get in the way.
And we're just getting started, so we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, we're novices.
Yeah,
we're.
I think that's obvious to everybody at this point.
I think if there's one thing we have made clear through the first 3 episodes of the Movie Show with Joel and Ryan is that Joel and Ryan doing the movie show, we are beginners in this podcast. We are but wee babes in the podcast universe. So, but welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.
And so we're going to kick off our podcast as we do every week, just sort of checking in, seeing what has happened with us this week.
Yeah.
I have actually been in anticipation of the new movie First Man.
Yeah.
I've been...
I'm going to see that in a couple nights with my dad.
Oh, let's see. That's a perfect father and son, I think.
Yeah, remember in Damien's other movie, Whiplash, the kid goes to the movies with his dad. That's like his thing that he does.
Well, there you go.
Until he gets a girlfriend.
And then
we won't go through the whole plot of the movie, but I just thought maybe there's a connection there.
I would assume First Man and Whiplash, the Venn diagram of their plot lines, probably does not cross very much.
But
you never know.
Well, he didn't, because he's just directing First Man. He didn't write it.
That's true. But yeah, no. So in anticipation of that, I've been catching up on a couple documentaries actually about
the Apollo missions.
About the Apollo missions, about the Gemini, the mission Gemini. I love that that's how they pronounced Gemini in the 60s. The Gemini missions.
Yep.
Yeah. So In the Shadow of the Moon, which was that documentary came out several years ago, but it's just brilliant, and I love it. And then there was a new one that came out. I believe it's called When Man Took Flight, I think, and that's a new one that was on the Science Channel. But it was again wonderful. Lots of unseen footage, and just really a wonderful way to sort of just recap all of that energy, all of just the incredible amount of brain power that it took to get
everything I know about the Apollo missions. I learned from the Earth to the Moon, which mostly learned from that. Yeah. I mean, the few things that you really know well, but the story of the whole thing. Yeah,
and any that and The Right Stuff.
Yeah,
those were the
that
two.
Was specifically the Gemini missions.
The Gemini missions, yeah.
But for sure.
Yeah, and any chance we can get to plug From the Earth to the Moon, I am all in favor of that.
It was a good miniseries.
Oh, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. I wish they put it out in a high definition version, because
you just beat me to it. I was going to say the exact same thing. I'm waiting with bated breath.
It's good. It's right up there with Band of Brothers and some of those types of series is really, really good.
It's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to dedicate a whole episode to the wives of the astronauts. I thought that was a brilliant one.
That was a clever way to tell the Apollo 13 story again, just a few years later.
Well, the Apollo 13
in a
one,
different way.
The Apollo 13 one was actually the one about the press and how they covered. That was the one with Jay Moore.
I thought that was all from the wives' perspective.
Well, the wives one had to do with Apollo 1 when the astronauts died, and then later on having to deal with which mission was that? But yeah, I mean, they kind of touched on a lot of the missions, but really focusing on the relationships between the wives. But the one with that dealt with Apollo 13, and just after the movie of Apollo 13 came out, was the one with Jay Moore playing the reporter who was all about getting the public interest angle and really hounding the families and stuff. And why can't I remember the actor's name who was kind of the Cronkite. Cronkite-esque, that dude. Oh boy, that's gonna bother me. But he was wonderful, and his just distaste with how, how the networks wanted to cover Apollo 13.
Right.
So good. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing. I've been really living in this.
That sounds pretty cool.
Space program mode.
Well, for me, it's Halloween time, so I've been watching all the Twilight films, but in reverse order.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of doing that is that you... Okay, that sound actually means that we have a retraction to do, a correction from our previous show. So I guess I'll talk about the Twilight movies later. But okay, so we made a mistake on the last show, and I said that we were talking about Clash of the Titans, and you asked what year did that come out, and I said it was 1983, and it was actually 1981. So I'm really sorry about that, audience. I know you come to us for quality reporting on these issues, even though we're just an opinion show.
Sure.
But you know what? I'm not really sorry about that, Joel. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because 1983, it wasn't 1983. It was 1981. But you know what? That's just names and dates. And, if you're going to get hung up on all that, and then you're not even going to talk, and we're going to stop and look things up for you. I mean, it's not going to be fun. The dates don't help you really with enjoyment. I mean, we want to provide clarity and not get that stuff wrong, but when we do, it's kind of like, if that's what you're going to get all worked up about, Professor, then maybe you shouldn't be watching our show or listening to us because, that could happen.
You could be watching it. Yeah.
Maybe we're not for you, I guess is what I'm saying. And when you're at home at night in your bed alone in the dark and you're clutching your abacus to your chest because it's the only thing in your life that loves you back, then just know that we don't miss you. And it's cool that you're not watching our show. We don't care about you. We're sorry we got 1981 and 1983 mixed up. But whatever.
Here's what I would quick say is I think that it is important for the listener to understand that look, we're here for fun, for entertainment, but you know what? We are tough but fair, and if we do screw up, we will do our best to correct it, but just calm down, people.
Yeah, don't get too hung up on that kind of thing. Now we can get on to talking about more fun stuff instead of that dark chapter in our podcast.
Yeah. Ryan, is there something else you would like to share with the class?
No, I can't think of anything.
You're sure on that? You don't think that there, I don't know, anything else that maybe we erred on?
Well, okay. For a brief moment during a segment that we have about the Oscars, the alternative Oscars. I might have said
the Altskers. I'm really trying to push that.
The Altskers.
I want that. That's going to be my claim.
That doesn't count as a mistake, though, right? I don't have to apologize for that.
No, not that one. No, you're good. That we'll take that up off air.
Anyway, I said, and I kind of, even before the show was over, I kind of knew this was wrong. But then, I said that Robert De Niro won an Oscar for Taxi Driver, which he absolutely did not. He won a supporting Oscar for Godfather 2, well-earned Oscar, and he very famously won an Oscar in a Scorsese movie a few years later, Raging Bull, where he won Best Lead Actor. But in 1976, it was actually, the Oscar was won by Peter, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore, Finch, who was in Network, who was part of the segment that we were talking about. Yep. And if we're going to do a segment on the Oscars and we're going to start talking about who won or lost those specific Oscars, I probably should have got that one right. So sorry about that, audience.
Well, and
I still don't apologize to that one guy. You know who I'm talking about.
We know, and he knows who he is.
Yeah, but we'll try and get. Obviously, we try and get that right. Mm-hmm. We'll certainly make mistakes like that in the future. We'll try and own up to them. And if people want to point out, Joel, mistakes that we made, or if they want to disagree with us on a point of opinion, or if they just want to, learn more about us or ask us questions, where would be a good place to, do that?
Right. I think the best place to get a hold of us is, I think we should be using social media for good, and you should reach out to us on Twitter at Ask Joel and Ryan.
Ask Joel and Ryan.
Ask Joel and Ryan.
And what if just say, for the sake of argument, I didn't have a Twitter account?
If you did not have a Twitter account, you should email us at askjoelandryan@gmail.com.
I like that. Email.
Yeah.
That's more my speed.
And please do not sign us up for anything. Do not spam us. Or, hey, we might spam you right back.
Maybe. More likely, we'll just block you, and then that'll be the end of that.
Yeah. But I like to think that I have better uses of my time. So yes, please reach out to us if you have if you catch something that we said that was in error. You absolutely can reach out to us if you have a question about
about question for Ask Joel and Ryan.
Yeah, that's where something you would like us to have to hear our silly opinion on. You should absolutely reach out. Once again, that is at Ask Joel and Ryan on Twitter, or askjoelandryan@gmail.com.
Score.
Now, moving on to the feature story for this podcast.
Our countdown.
Our masterful countdown. You want to hit us with the...
you ready for the 30-second countdown montage?
I think we should hit the 30-second the countdown.
Here we go, ladies and gents.
10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I believe that is from a Gemini mission.
I don't want to say it is because I'm not sure, but I believe it is as well.
If it's not,
I think that's a a combination of a Gemini mission and, of course, the destruction of the Nostromo.
Oh, that would, yeah.
I put those two things together.
There's.
I couldn't pick which countdown we should use, so we used them both.
There's a nice symmetry to that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Who knew when the Gemini mission started that it would, result in us discovering a species that would ultimately destroy our entire race?
Absolutely. Who knew? I mean, H.R. Giger, he knew.
He knew.
But
he was one of the few.
He had insider knowledge. So this week for our countdown, we were a little bit inspired by the Gentlemen of Autumn. And the baseball playoffs. We are getting close to the World Series contestants being decided, and if you enjoy movies, I think it's safe to say that that baseball has been fertile ground for movie making for many, many years.
For sure.
Yeah.
I've always said that sports movies are the safest bet, really, that you can have, because sports stories are inherently follow the dramatic art that you want. They are cinematic.
Yeah.
It's not that, some of the great movies of all time are sports movies, and sports movies sometimes aren't great, but they're rarely. I have a hard time thinking of one that's just garbage.
Yeah.
Whereas you can think of plenty of horror movies and plenty of comedies that are just like comedies that don't make you laugh, ghost stories that don't scare you.
Right.
Those are labors to get through. And I can't think of a sports movie like that. I think even the dumb ones like
Ladybugs.
Yeah. Okay.
Kicking and screaming.
Maybe that's the exception.
I tend to be very, very, obviously my soccer is a big part of my world, and I see how badly Hollywood handles soccer.
Yeah.
We wanted
to
back
to baseball.
But back to baseball. Why do you think baseball specifically? Aside from the Americana, or maybe you could speak more on to the Americana aspect of it. But why baseball in particular? What about baseball lends itself to being? Yeah, I guess. There's just so many.
Yeah. I'm not a huge baseball fan in general, but I do think, like you say, the story of baseball is sort of the story of America. It's I don't want to say uniquely American, but it's a really a piece of Americana that we have. It's a pastime.
I think about the Untouchables and the speech that Capone gives when they're all they're sitting around the table for dinner right before he bashes that dude's head in.
Mm-hmm.
But he's talking about, and then we had a professor in college who loved baseball, Jim Bartroff, and he I remember him.
Still does.
Yeah, I just remember him expounding at great length, kind of along the same theme of how. Baseball encapsulates both a team effort, because you have to play together as a team when you're out in the field, but then you can turn around and you also have that moment of individual glory, individual brilliance
when you're standing at the plate.
When you're standing at the plate.
Yep.
And that was one of the things that I vividly remember him talking about of why he loved that game loves baseball so much, is that because there is a individual moment to shine, as well as you can see the wonderful strategy element of sport.
Yeah.
And I think those two elements together, I think, like you said, you can shoot baseball. There's an inherent cinematic, there's an inherent dramatic nature to that, because you can have the individual success. You can also have, you can show an individual helping his team, and so we wanted this week to count down what we feel are the top 5 baseball movies.
Yep. According to us.
We're
not trying to be empirical.
No.
These are our 5 favorites.
I can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be a lot of disagreement with our list.
Oh, no doubt. Because there's at least one considered an absolute classic baseball movie that is nowhere on the list.
Nowhere to be found.
And there's a couple things on the list that, we just... Well, here goes.
So here we go.
First one's pretty safe bet.
Yeah, real quick, though. We did not include documentaries. Right. There are some brilliant documentaries on baseball.
We never do that, but we'll try and talk about documentaries as they come up.
Yeah, but I thought it was important because there are so many really great documentaries, obviously, with the pinnacle probably being Ken Burns'
Like
baseball.
I said, because the history of what's going on in history is happening in baseball. The two things tie really, really nicely together, especially the further back you go.
Yeah, and because I think you can, and that
ties in with a lot of our choices.
Yeah. Are we going 1 to 5 or 5 to 1?
Always 5. Counting down.
That's what I thought. Hey, I guess it is right there in the title. Count down.
Exactly.
So number 5
is
Penny Marshall's A League of Their Own.
That's a great movie.
It is such a good movie.
Yeah.
In fact, it just came on the other night, and my wife and I just started watching it, and I found myself, we both were just identifying, we were just really nitpicking it of things that just really irk us about that movie. Yet, it's so eminently watchable. It's so, I have huge problems with the Kit character.
Yeah.
It's just, and then dating back again to our college days, that song that they sing.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it just like
I'd
nails on a
about that.
Yeah, it just nails on a chalkboard for me, and it the whole movie it loses all the goodwill that it built up. When they start singing that song.
Yeah. Penny Marshall movies in general aren't very stylish.
Right.
She's like most actors turned directors. She's a really good storyteller. Her focus is on the character. The characters in that movie really come to life in a wonderful way.
Oh.
They're very vividly portrayed. She gets all of that right, and she puts the thing together in a way that plays very nicely. But the film itself, to look at, is nothing special. And for a period film, that's sort of unforgivable.
Sure.
But the story is important. It had never been told before.
And it's, and there are some really, really likable, really, the characters in it are so well drawn. Geena Davis is so good in it.
I agree.
And her chemistry with Tom Hanks is so good. And
it's easy to forget how good Geena Davis was in some stuff. Oh, yeah. She really was great.
Yeah. And even I'm trying to remember, was this kind of where we as a culture were introduced to Rosie O'Donnell? I mean, she had been a stand-up comic obviously for many years. But I want to say that this was like her first big featured thing.
I think that's probably
right. And she's so good. She's just this. Yeah. There's so many really good small supporting characters. John Lovett's briefly in it. David Strathairn, of course. Gary Marshall. Right. Everybody. So that even in these small little roles, they're just everyone just kind of takes them and plays them to the absolute hilt.
Yeah, that's a very fun and entertaining movie.
Yeah,
like most of her movies are big, and Awakenings, I guess, a little bit more of a downer, but that's a very involving, sweeps you right along film. So,
A League of Their Own. See it.
Ep3. Yeah, if you haven't, you probably have.
You probably have, because it's usually they VH1 plays it from time to time. Number 4. We're calling this the number round, or the number level, because
we've stuck a couple. Yeah, we stuck
a couple in
that
here.
Both are numbers.
Yeah, 42.
Yeah, the Jackie Robinson story,
and 61 with the asterisks.
Yeah, which is the year 61. Is that somebody's number too?
Well, no, that was the number of home runs in a single season.
Oh, and that's Lou Gehrig mostly, right?
No. It's
Roger Maris.
Yeah, Roger Maris.
Sorry,
Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle.
You can tell who picked that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. No, I've seen 61, believe it or not. But.
Yeah, Billy Crystal's kind of his love letter to baseball and specifically the New York Yankees. 61. I mean, which. It never had a theatrical release, but it was an HBO film, and
it's really well done.
Good. It looks
good.
Barry Pepper.
Yeah,
Barry Pepper as Roger Maris is so good in it. And one of the things about it is it really captures. That movie's so good. It captures the stress that both Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and Maris's wife put that they absorb, the amount of stress that they absorb, the amount of stress they put on themselves, just the stress of potentially breaking this record that no one wanted them to break. They didn't even. And if it was going to be broken, all the Yankees fans wanted Mantle to break it,
right?
Not this farm boy from Fargo,
right?
And it was, it's just really good. It's like really good.
And that record stood for a long, long time.
Yeah,
right?
and
it stood till they started taking steroids.
Well, yeah, till the
isn't that right?
Yeah, basically the steroid era, kind of killed it.
Right. Then you had a couple people each year breaking it, but they were juicing. They were cheating.
Yeah.
So it really was an amazing record.
Yeah, and of course the asterisk refers to Maris did not beat it in the number of games that it took Ruth to hit 61
in a shorter season.
Because Ruth played in a shorter season. Maris did break it, but after that, because everyone, Babe Ruth is revered. Baseball decided to say, yes, we'll give you 61, but we're going to put an asterisk next to it. And that asterisk stood for...
I might be a stuffy Midwesterner, but give me Roger Maris any day.
Well, yeah. Right. I would agree with that. So 42...
42 really isn't... I mean, it's got baseball in it, but it's a Jackie Robinson biopic, really. It's more than what he brought to the team he was playing for when when they started to integrate baseball. It's about what he goes through and what his family goes through, and it's about the sort of village that it takes to make that happen. They had to have a manager that was on board with it. The owner of the team, played by Harrison Ford, Branch Rickey. I was a little shocked. I mean, I don't want to get too into award ceremonies. I was a little shocked he got nominated for not even a Globe. Mm-hmm. That's a really impressive performance where we've got a guy, a leading man who went back, studied tapes of this guy's voice, did an imitation of him, but it's more than an imitation. It's a really soulful performance by Harrison. Chadwick Boseman, who I'd never seen in anything up until that point, is spectacularly good in it.
Yeah.
And then kind of right down the line, there's lots of supporting characters and like you say, all the teammates, all the enemies. I don't want to say enemies, but Alan Tudyk plays a particularly jerkwad Southern manager for another team who basically heckles him with racism every time he's up to the plate, and those scenes and that dumb white guy doesn't get why he's doing is destructive. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I actually related to that almost in a way. Like we don't. Not so much that I'd shout racist things at people, but the cluelessness of the damage that can do. Like I could relate to.
Yeah.
So 42, really good film.
Number 3. Now this number 3 also has a number in the title, but this is worthy of its own slot in the countdown. 8 Men Out.
Yeah, 8 Men Out, about the Black Sox. The guys who were paid off to throw the World Series for the gambling aspect of it. That's a John Sayles movie, kind of understated for a baseball movie, but it's sepia toned. It's a really beautiful film. You really get a sense of these ball players as not as legends or heroes, but as these guys who, they don't make any money. They're barely scraping along, even though they're famous celebrities in their day. It was a different time for them. And John Cusack's sort of the main guy that we follow, but really all of the Black Sox kind of have their moment and their different personalities. And it becomes sort of a courtroom thing at the end, but
and it's some spectacularly flawed characters that you just still love and you relate. I mean, the reasons why these guys agree to throw this, they're all, you can understand why they're making this choice.
Yeah,
they make no money. This is like they're
right. They play in an era where it was hard to make ends meet anyway. But they played for a particularly terrible owner.
Oh yeah.
Charles Kaminsky, who just was notorious for, basically cheating him out of every dime he could, not being faithful in contract talks, lying and tricking his way and, pinching every penny for himself. The film portrays that pretty well. So you do feel for them, and they don't all make the choice, and they still all get busted, and you really feel for those guys. That whole era, I believe, Sayles is a very smart filmmaker, and I don't know too many of the details. What I know about the Black Sox, I kind of know from 8 Men Out, right? But I really feel like they, he came at it from all angles. You see it from the mob side, you see it from the fan side. You get it all. From the press. It's really well done. It's one of the great, and there are a bunch of them, but it's one of the great John Sayles ensemble movies.
Yeah, and it was one of the, it was such an important moment for sports, because it was when these heroes, especially heroes to kids and stuff, and it was one of the first times publicly you really saw these larger than life figures.
Right.
Just you saw them fail. You saw them, just get broken down, and that sort of that pedestal just completely cut out from underneath them.
Right. Sayles knows there's that line at the end where the little kid comes up to shoeless Joe Jackson. He says, "Say it ain't so, Joe."
Yep.
And that's even before 8 Men Out was made. I mean, that's a cliche.
Yeah.
But he earns that moment, and that it breaks your heart, and that's what it's supposed to do. If you're a baseball fan, if you're just a person, it's a heartbreaking story.
Yeah. Number two is a classic movie for any child growing up in this country.
Classic underdog story.
The Bad News Bears.
The Bad News Bears, and I don't want to show you guys how the sausage is made all the time, but I'll just, we have a very complicated algorithm that comes up with these top 5 lists. Yep. But Bad News Bears is my favorite baseball movie by far, and Bad News Bears is pretty much my favorite sports movie of all time. I love the Bad News Bears, and I known my whole life that I loved it. A little younger than those kids. Bad News Bears came out in 1976.
Oh, yeah. Someone fact check them.
No, I made sure. And because we talked about 1976 on the last show, it's just another, I think, really great film that you can throw in there.
That was a good year.
It's my favorite Walter Matthau performance. It's just saying a lot. He's great in all kinds of things. He's fantastic in Bad News Bears. Yeah. And I think the Bad News Bears, to some degree, if that had just not made a bunch of cheapquels, I want to call them.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, like cheapquels. That's a term that came out when the Disney started having
the direct-to-video.
Yeah, exactly. Cheapquels.
I like that. I never heard that.
Bad News Bears had a Planet of the Apes.
Yep. Bad News Bears go to Japan.
Let's make another one, but cheaper and crappier and faster.
And as long as we can get a couple people from the original team.
Cast, a couple of the kids or something. But I don't know. The kids are great in that movie. Jackie Earle Haley, who I adore as an actor, is a kid in that. He's fantastic in it.
Yeah.
Channing Tatum, who I don't typically like a lot, or I shouldn't say that. She's what she was.
She's not Channing Tatum. Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal. Jeez. Yeah. Who am I talking about?
Well, you said Channing Tatum, from Magic Mike and.
Oh right, Channing Tatum.
Wait.
I got my Tatums mixed up.
Yeah, Tatum.
America, you can understand that.
Some say Tatum.
Tatum O'Neal, Ryan O'Neal's daughter, who was famous because she was Ryan O'Neal's daughter, really. And that happens sometimes. And sometimes they learn to act kind of before your eyes. And sometimes they were the best they ever were when they didn't know what they were doing as kids. Once she was a teenager and adult, she wasn't so great.
Yeah.
But that's not to say she's not great in Bad News Bears. She's actually really, really good in it. Maybe better than Paper Moon or, I don't know, Little Darlings or whatever your favorite Tatum O'Neal movie is.
Paper Moon was what she was nominated for, right?
Yeah, as just a little kid.
Yeah.
And that's a good movie.
Oh, that's
so I don't mean to diss on her. I'm just saying, she's really, really good in it. The late Vic Morrow, who's a really good actor. I think it's his best performance. I mean, I think it was like the kind of the other coach, the bad guy coach, or whatever you want to say.
Right. Yeah, I think you could. And going back to Walter Matthau, I think you could say that Tom Hanks's role in A League of Their Own as Jimmy Dugan.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that maybe that role doesn't work as well to an audience without the Walter Matthau.
I think to one degree or another, almost every movie we've named has a grouchy manager, right?
I guess that's true. Yeah,
and that's pretty much a baseball movie staple.
Yeah, that's true.
The guy that comes in halfway through 42 is just a super nice guy, but he replaces. The what's his face from Law and Order. He replaces him, and he's a grumpy manager. So
that's true. I guess that is kind of a trope.
I love Bad News Bears, you guys. You can't. When you think of 70s cinema, a lot of it is really dark and really serious, and it just shows you kind of. It's almost like the 70s to me, like the Depression era that I lived through, as opposed to But Bad News Bears and maybe like the 4th of July sequence in Jaws.
Yeah.
They'd show you this bright, lively world full of kids that are excited about stuff. And it's Bad News Bears takes place in 76. It came out in 76.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be a time capsule, but it functions as a great time capsule.
I need to go back and watch Bad News Bears, because in my head, I think I've started to like meld the cheapquels into, I'm as I'm remembering the movie, I'm like, wait, no, I think that was when
they're harmless family fun, but they really do diminish the reputation of the first film, which I think is an all-time great movie.
It's like, oh wait, I think I'm remembering a scene in the Tokyo Dome.
Right.
All right, so number one.
What could it be? There's a couple that we haven't named yet. What could they be?
We did not.
Which one will we say?
We did not say Bull Durham, nor will we be saying Bull Durham.
We won't. Bull Durham didn't make the cut. Major League didn't make the cut.
Yeah, Major League was on my list.
Major League's not all bad. But
it's. I mean, in terms of a fun.
Yeah.
Just a kind of a silly comedy.
And to Major League, the feather in Major League's cap is that it actually gets baseball more accurate than the movie we're about to say.
That's true. And the movie that is our number one spot is the incredible baseball fable, The Natural.
The Natural. Directed by Barry Levinson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Starring Robert Redford, Glenn Close, Kim Basinger.
Adapted from the novel by Bernard Malamud.
And I will point out a fantastic score by Randy Newman.
Yeah, really good. Not his first score, but his first score that made everybody go, here you go.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not just like a song guy. He can. This stuff's for real. It's a great score.
It's a great score.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Roy Hobbs story.
Yeah,
and it's
a fable. You use that word correctly.
Yeah,
the other beloved baseball film that's also a fable is Field of Dreams, which didn't make either of our lists.
Mm-hmm.
We both like that movie, right?
I like it fine. I guess when Field of Dreams, I remember it being so saccharine and it just was like, okay, I get it. And it just kind of wore on me, which I think you could say about The Natural too. But for some reason, The Natural
The Natural doesn't have the sentimentality though of Field of Dreams. The Natural has a lot of aw shucks, like kind of Robert Redford earnestness, almost to a degree you can't handle. But that earnestness, almost, or for most of his young life is his downfall as well.
Yeah.
And that there's a dark side to the opening chapters of that story, I think. And it doesn't play like a magic act, like Field of Dreams does. It plays like a story, fantastical as it is. It plays like a story that you could believe might actually happen. Yeah. It's like, use the word love letter. It's a love letter to baseball from the author in the first place, and then the filmmakers too absolutely take that up. Plus, it's same kind of era we're talking about. When does that movie take place? The 30s?
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Something like that. It's part of our history. It's a historical type film.
Mm-hmm. And once again, you get Wilford Brimley as the grouchy manager,
right? And he's right up there with all-time grouchy managers. He's fantastic.
Charles, who plays the
reporter?
The guy who. Well, that's
Robert Duvall
plays
Duvall
as the reporter who's never played baseball in his life, and he's just out there to just be kind of he has that cynical.
It's a great.
Cynicism.
Robert Duvall first played that part in The Natural. He's pretty much played, not entirely, but almost entirely, some version of that same guy
on
ever since.
Theme, I'm trying to think of the guy who's the owner of the team.
Robert Prosky.
Prosky, that's right.
Yeah, he's great too. Never turns the lights on in his office. He's fantastic. Darren McGavin as a sort of professional gambler is great, uncredited, but really brilliant.
He's uncredited?
He couldn't get billing that he liked in that big bunch of stars, so he thought, well, screw it, I'll just not take a credit, and everybody would be like, why is he not credited? And he'd get more attention.
I never knew that.
Which sort of worked out. Because he couldn't fit himself in. Kim Basinger and Robert Duvall, and, you've got this Barbara Hershey. You have this whole list, Glenn Close, and he couldn't get in there in a way that made him happy. His agent couldn't get him good billing, in his opinion.
Yeah.
So he said, forget it.
I never picked up on that.
He's not building it. But I mean, it's fantastic. Not a secret that you're watching Darren McGavin.
He's so good with his weird magic eye.
It's one of my favorite. I mean, it's one of my favorite roles of him, and you can say that right up and down the board.
And Kim Basinger. What did Kim Basinger? What had she done before this movie? I mean, I'm trying to remember in the time.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, but she, she just
not a whole lot.
But she trades. She obviously
was a Bond
playing
girl,
she's
Never
playing this,
Say Never Again.
Yeah, she's playing this bombshell, this woman who, who's, compromised, but she's. She again. Going back to the word that you used regarding Robert Redford. There's an earnestness to her. She knows the role that she has to play.
Right. But she's hoping that it works out between the two of them too. That's very clear, which makes her nicely complicated for that kind of femme fatale role.
Yeah.
Since we've already literally seen a femme fatale earlier in the film, I mean, it's nice that when your leading lady comes in, or who you think's going to be your leading lady until the real leading lady comes back into his life. Yeah, she's complicated for sure.
Yeah.
And she's got Kim Basinger's a good actor. She really her moment where it all comes crashing down is a powerful moment in the movie.
Yeah, and I think that is also, I think the script, they paid some attention to that. They could have easily just said, well, here's this role, and just sort of kind of wrote it by numbers.
They do that with the baseball, but they don't do that with the characters at all, and that's part of what makes that movie special. The baseball doesn't make any. I mean, if I'm going to put some knocks on The Natural, the baseball makes no sense.
Correct.
When he's not playing, they lose every game, and when he's playing, they're all stars. It's ridiculous.
Except when he's with Kim Basinger, and even though he's playing, they're losing because he's distracted, and
they go on these 10-game losing streaks and then 12-game winning streaks. It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's just the baseball in it isn't good.
The baseball is the most it's the most fanciful, it's the most fantastical element of it, where literally knocks the cover off the ball, literally smashes the clock.
Right. It's a fable, and you really do have to approach it that way to enjoy it.
He fouls the ball back. to smash
into
Robert
this,
Duvall.
Yeah, right.
So literally, when it comes time to the actual playing of baseball, that is when the rules of reality take a break.
It doesn't hold up very well.
But it's satisfying. It's every moment of all those fantastical baseball moments are incredibly satisfying, and I think,
and they all lead up to what is the most ephemeral, like uplifting sports ending to really any movie of all time.
Right.
Which is when he needs to big hit, to win the playoff, the elimination game, and he knocks one all the way back into the lights in the stadium, and they start to explode, and they rain down fireworks on him while he's rounding the bases in slow motion with that music playing, and it knocks you out. That it's a joyous moment of movie making.
It's supported by the director does these shots of like the Bat Boy and some of the other players.
Right, Wilford Brimley's glasses. The sparks raining down and reflected in his glasses.
It's
amazing
it's so
stuff.
Good.
That movie was shot by Caleb Deschanel, and it's amazally shot film.
So
beautiful.
Wonderful.
I will say one thing about it before we move on, and I hate to go out on a down note. The author of that novel, the way he wrote the ending couldn't be more different. He wrote the ending where our guy who has made the hard choice of forgoing the money, giving up, forgoing the money, and he's going to go out there, he's really going to play, and what happens is some kid just like him, some farm kid,
the
comes
Nebraska
up
farm boy
as a replacement pitcher, and he strikes him out.
Yep. And the movie.
So he doesn't get the money. He doesn't win the game. They lose the team, the ownership.
They lose every. The manager's fired. He loses his stake. And
because
it's
life
set up.
is cyclical, which is very poetic. But
it is set up that way. The relief pitcher comes in, and the announcer is even like the young farm boy, the rocket arm. You could easily see.
But nobody in a film audience thinks that it's not going to be victorious. And I think if they'd have done that ending. I don't know what. It would have been.
That would have been
a totally different movie.
Do you know? Did they?
But it's a beautiful ending, and I just want to give it.
They couldn't even have shot that version.
No, but they wrote it, and that's it took somebody saying it should be this.
Yeah, hey, we gotta.
And then they argued about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they're artists. Yeah. They didn't just say, "Oh, screw the writer's ending."
Yeah.
They thought for a long period of time while they were putting that movie together that's how they were going to end it.
Yeah.
And then they changed their minds and. The novelist obviously was pretty upset. This is the opposite of the point he was trying to make. And Redford, I can't only paraphrase him, but he very eloquently says, "Look, the ending that we gave you is the ending to the movie that works. It's the only ending that would have worked. Yeah. I'm convinced of it. I know it's not, it's not the same, but it's one of those fun things to go back and hear everybody's perspective. There's some good documentaries made on it.
I do wonder. Would it have worked if he strikes out? It's it's this sort of sad moment, yet somehow they are able to do that transition where then you see him
playing catch with
his son, smile on his face, Glenn Close, beautifully lit, sun in the background. Would we as an audience what would our emotional say? Yeah, that would have been.
It would have been
really interesting.
Look, it would have been really hard to do.
Yeah,
it would have been really hard to do to get us that next step from that downer of an ending. But I'm
going to be thinking about that.
Well, it's just
pretty wonderful.
That's why I threw it out there.
Yeah.
It's a long thing to talk about, but it's something to think about when you think about The Natural. It's why I love The Natural, but it's why I had it a couple spots down on my list.
And I unabashedly, it's to me, it's like Hoosiers. It's like, it's like, it's like a victory. Which at some point will come up.
Sure.
Well, it did already come up as one of my favorite movies. Yeah. But anyway, so that is our countdown list for this week. The top 5 baseball movies in Hollywood.
Nice. So what do we got next?
Well, next we're going to be debuting our newest segment. We're gonna get controversial here. We're like, okay, we're episode 3 now. People have gotten to know us. I think they know that we are men of integrity and men of the world. Well, we're going to hit you. We're going to hit you with some Hollywood hot takes.
Let's get some hot takes. Let's get some hot takes. Let's get some hot takes. Let's get some hot takes.
Let's get some hot takes. Should we play what a hot take is for people who don't know?
Yeah. What are we talking about here when we're talking about a hot take?
Real quick.
In journalism, a hot take is a piece of deliberately provocative commentary that is based almost entirely on shallow moralizing in response to a news story, usually written on tight deadlines with little research or reporting, and even less thought.
And even less thought.
And
that description was brought to you by the folks at Audiopedia YouTube channel. By the way, we should give them a shout out. If you want to have things defined for you by a creepy, feminine, robotic voice and some animation, check those guys out.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, let's get some hot takes.
Hot takes. Okay, here we go. We're going to try to sort of quickly, rapid fire go through these.
We have to. We talked too long about baseball.
Yep, I'll throw these out there.
Here we go.
Ryan will disagree with me. He'll agree with me, whatever he will. So these are some of them that I have. I will try to credit the Twitter user where some of these I stole some of their hot takes.
We get our hot takes from all over the place.
All right. Here we go. Starting out. Keeping on the theme of sports movies, Kyle Bond at @the_bonfire says there are more great submarine movies than there are great sports movies.
No.
Correct.
No. But I love that because there are some really great submarine movies.
I know.
And submarine movies, like sports movies, are really safe bets. They're very, very few bad ones.
Yeah.
So I like where his head's at, but
Absolutely.
I'm going to say no.
I read that and I went, yes, that is a brilliant take. You're wrong, but I love it.
But I love it. We love it. Thanks, dude.
Hot take number 2. What the world needs now, more than ever, is another Joker movie with a new actor in the titular role.
I'm going to agree with that.
Really?
Hot take. Yeah. Look. Okay. It's going to be a nuanced response to that hot take, unfortunately. I can't be pithy about it. But first of all, we've never had a Joker movie. We've had some movies with Jokers in it. Jack Nicholson was a great Joker. Heath Ledger was a sort of shut the door for a decade Joker. Right. He was that good. And that character was conceived that good. Also, we had Suicide Squad. You got give a shout out to Mark Hamill. A lot of people think he's the quintessential Joker. You got to be careful what you wish for. Okay, this can be done well, and I hope that it is. That's my hope.
Right.
But the reality is, do you want a whole movie that focuses on the Joker? Maybe you don't. Do you want a movie that is a Boba Fett movie? I mean, you don't. The more you learn about certain characters, the weaker and stupider they are, in my opinion. And that's the potential pitfall for a Joker. But nobody's done a Joker movie. Let's see how they do it. And do your own thing, Joker movie, people who are making the Joker movie. Joaquin Phoenix and you folks. Don't listen to us. We don't know what we're talking about. We demand a bunch of crap. We don't even know what we want, us fans out here, and especially in comic book land. We really don't know what we want. We think we want strict adherence to doctrine, but you can't come up with something new and cool doing that. So I'm going to say yes, we need it, and we need it to be great, and if it sucks, then you really let us down.
Wow. That's controversial Hollywood hot take.
There it is.
Number 3 Hollywood hot take. Hollywood remakes foreign films because audiences are too dumb to read.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, mostly they remake them because, look, here's a good idea for a movie, and we are out of good ideas, so let's take this. And, yeah, it's a safe bet that you haven't seen it because it was in Norwegian. But, I don't mind that so much. If you really like foreign movies and you watch a lot of them, nobody took that movie from you. And sometimes American remake is just as good as the original, or it's, rarely. But enough times that I'm like, I'm glad we have two Let the Right One Ins or Let Me Ins, for example. That's a really, really good. Both versions of the movie are awesome. And sometimes that happens. Old Boy, not very awesome, but I'm just saying, yes, that's okay with me, and he's right about that hot take. People They don't want to read. They don't want subtitles. That's why But, both Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies are really good.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
So there's...
Yeah, it's good. So, Hollywood Hot Take!
Yeah.
Hollywood Hot Take number 4. Hollywood Nights by Bob Seger is the best workout song.
No.
Correct. That is also... But I will give it out to Woody Whitehurst at Woody Whitehurst.
It's a good one. I don't even know that it's the best Bob Seger workout song, to be honest.
I just love the idea. I was thinking about Hollywood Hot Takes, and Hollywood Nights came up, and... I like that. Okay, Hollywood Hot Take number 5. There is too much Star Wars. We're oversaturating and is diluting our love of Star Wars.
No, that's wrong. You can never have enough good Star Wars movies.
You are correct.
And even though people of our generation all take ownership of the Star Wars films as we're gonna, and we can't be stopped, so there's no cure for that. But we also need to be a little more open-minded, kind of like what I said about the Joker, a little more open to different interpretations and different attempts at things. I don't mind if they make less Star Wars movies, but I don't want them to stop trying new things or stop revisiting interesting characters if they've got a cool idea, and I don't think we should want that either.
Good hot take.
Yeah.
Hollywood Hot Take number 6 from Nate Silver.
Yeah.
Shape of Water winning the best Oscar is like the 2003 Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl. No one will remember it in 15 years.
No, that's not true. Shape of the Water is a genre film. They tend to, even the bad ones, tend to have a life that extends them further than something like Crash, which any of you ever going to watch Crash again?
Yeah.
So I think Shape of the Water, just by the nature of its genre and of its storytelling, it'll be remembered. Whether it was the best movie of that year, no, I would, in that way, I would agree with the hot take.
Sure.
It wasn't and won't be remembered as, but that film will endure. I'm quite certain. Pan's Labyrinth did, and that wasn't in English, as you said, or as that earlier hot take said. And so I think Shape of the Water will live on, actually.
Anytime I'm scrolling through the TV menu and I see that some network is playing Crash, I almost always audibly say, "Why?"
Crash isn't garbage. Crash was lauded
it's
so
close to garbage, in my opinion.
I hate to say that. I think if it hadn't won all these awards and hadn't been considered the bee's knees by Hollywood, I think it would fit nicely into what it was supposed to be, which is this little, modern morality tale. I don't think it's terrible, but it's not the best movie that year. Even Paul Haggis, he says it's not the best movie that year. So
that was that was a bonus Hollywood hot take for you right there on Crash.
Yeah,
okay, and the final Hollywood hot take of this podcast, number 7. Doc Hollywood has the most practical medical knowledge of any movie.
I'm not thinking of a different one that has more practical knowledge.
All I can think of is the old doctor who gives the kid a Coke to relieve his stomach pain.
There's a lot of useful stuff in Doc Hollywood.
Doc Hollywood.
Another good Playing God with David Duchovny. You can learn about the dirty business of being a doctor in that film as well.
Right. Of course, in Doc Hollywood, you learn that you can pay for medical procedures with a pig.
Which I didn't know before.
No, I did not know that, but I know now that, yes, that is an acceptable.
So I'm not sure, but I can't think of anything. That's a solid hot take.
Hot take!
Thank you. That's our new segment, Hollywood Hot Takes.
Okay, so we're going to turn now to our mailbag, our Ask Joel and Ryan.
And we got to keep these hot takes short.
Yep, these will be...
I'll do my best.
This will be one... We'll do one real quick... writing to us here. Again, you can always write to us at askjoelandryan@gmail.com or on Twitter at askjoelandryan.
Yeah.
What? Now, this question is I've altered a question that came to us from our good friend Michael Klug.
Okay, great.
And
we haven't had a question by him yet.
Yeah, no, a question that he asked was far more general. I am making it more specific.
They need to be specific
with our countdown. What film in the sports genre could use a remake?
Could use a remake?
Yeah. Like, is there one that you're like, yeah, that doesn't hold up? But it's a good story. I think that someone could do something new and interesting with it.
I find sports movies so much of their time, even the ones that take place in their time. I can't think of a specific one right now that needs a remake, but I'll say this. Oliver Stone's Any Given Sunday is, I don't want to say it's a terrible movie, but it doesn't do professional football justice at all. It just doesn't, and there hasn't really been a great professional football movie.
Yeah, football
in
movies
general.
do not. Yeah,
there's some really good college and high school ones.
Right.
But professional football is really hard to get right. I think because you either, if you're, like Draft Day. There's another one. The Draft is interesting, but Draft Day is a total failure of a movie. If you're into the draft, it doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, I guess. I think some people would call Jerry Maguire a football movie.
But and the bits of football that Jerry Maguire is not a football movie, but the bits of pro football that are in Jerry Maguire ring very true. That bit is done well. Cuba Gooding's character is very believable. He plays for a believable team. He's a star on a crappy team. So I just wish there'd be a decent pro football movie, but I don't know that it's possible because the NFL is so proprietary. It'd just be tough to do.
Bonus hot take: Jerry Maguire is to football movies as Max Dugan Returns is to baseball movies.
That's a fantastic hot take.
Hot take!
And you know what? Yes, that is absolutely true. And, see Jerry Maguire again. That's a pretty great movie, the 90s. Although you know it by heart probably. But every line in that stupid movie is a meme now.
Get Max Dugan
But
Returns
if you have not seen Max Dugan Returns and you're a fan of either Jason Robards or Matthew Broderick or Marsha Mason or Neil Simon.
Or Donald Sutherland.
Donald Sutherland. I forgot about him.
Neil Simon.
Or baseball, frankly. If you were a kid who played baseball and struggled a little bit with it like I did, check out Max Dugan Returns.
God, I love that movie.
That's a really good movie. So good draw and good way to end that segment.
So what do you got coming up this week, Ryan? Anything fun?
It's Halloween time, and I'm not watching baseball movies. I'm going to be watching mostly horror movies. I just caught a movie, Netflix movie called Apostle by the guy who made the Raid movies. That movie is gonzo. It's just, I don't know how to even recommend it because it ain't for everybody. It's super violent, and it's really weird. But I hope there's more like that because I didn't know what to expect really when I watched it, and it kind of blew my mind in a way where even if I didn't enjoy it, it's horror movies, you're not always supposed to enjoy them, folks. They take you someplace awful sometimes, and you go along for the ride because you get to go someplace awful, but be at home on your couch and safe. That one definitely does that. So I'm gonna watch more of those, and maybe by our next show I'll have I'll have a list.
Yeah, I have a feeling our next show will probably be Halloween themed. I think
we'll see if we can do.
Yeah, we did Movie Monsters, obviously, but obviously there's
there's more. It's fertile ground, and it's that time of year. Even though it snowed here today, somehow. It's still autumn. The leaves are just changing, and
pretty much the extent of my Halloween viewing is things like Halloween episodes of Paw Patrol and Vampirina and stuff because I have a kid.
Yeah, you won't be watching Apostle.
No, I will not. I don't think I'm going to get a chance to watch
even the audio of that really can't be in your home where you live.
No. I got in trouble for watching Netflix's Big Mouth, the animated show with the Nick Kroll animated show. I had the TV on a little too loud, and my son was like, "Dad, what is he saying?" And I went, "Oh, geez, okay, sorry.
Time to go.
Let me turn that down, son. You go back to bed." And then other than that, I'll probably, frankly, I'm probably gonna watch From the Earth to the Moon again.
Why not?
I've watched it like only about a couple hundred times, so I'll probably add to that a little bit. And then other than that, boy, I'm not sure. I go out of town for a couple days next week, where I think I'll have a lot of downtime, so I'm hoping to catch a couple films while I'm on
and
the road.
Think up a new countdown.
Yes, and there'll be a new countdown.
You thought up this one though, so thanks for that.
Hey, no problem.
All right, folks, we're gonna have to check out then with that. Safe travels to you, my friend.
Hey, thank you, and thank you again for joining us for this week for the movie show with Joel and Ryan.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
And we will catch you next time. Hollywood Hot Take!
Thank you for listening to The Movie Show with Joel and Ryan. Remember, all views and opinions represented in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the speaker and do not represent those people, institutions, or organizations that the speaker may or may not be associated with, unless explicitly stated. None of these views and opinions were intended to malign or deceive. And now, here's the producers, circa 1982, to play us out.